This January, weather pattern across the country appears different. As expected, the usual dry harmattan is supposed to be the order of the day, right? But no doubt the usual well, it's becoming more common than the predictable cool, dry season many Nigerians expect. These are changes that experts link to shifting climate patterns. NIMET had forecast moderate to persistent dust haze across the northern region, which affects air quality, visibility, and especially health conditions more significantly in the northern part than in other states. Reports fired by our correspondents indicate that the change in weather pattern has increased as some parts are experiencing heat waves, despite the rainfall experienced in other parts, thereby increasing the risk of health and environmental concerns. With the unexpected weather patterns during this season, how are these changes affecting aspects of livelihood like agriculture, local businesses, and traditional seasonal expectations? So tonight, our focus is the it's not usual, January weather pattern. And our guest is Professor Sani Abubakar Mashi. He is the former Director General, NIMET, and lecturer in the Department of Geography, University of Abuja. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguela. Let's start by bringing you developments across the country. The federal government says boosting economic growth through improved road infrastructure will ensure that states like Kano benefit adequately from ongoing emergency interventions. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, Northwest, Abdullahi Tonkoyaka, said this while inspecting and inaugurating approved federal emergency road projects nationwide, including 48 projects in the Northwest zone. Let's see that.
Featured the inauguration of road projects at the economic city in Bichi local government area and Magajurumfa Road in Nasarawa GRA. It also included the inspection of the Kano Northern Bypass, a 37.8-kilometer dualized road with 10 bridges, as well as the inspection of outstanding works on Section A and 3 of the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Road. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, said the projects are designed to stimulate economic activities.
This road will bring all the people from Northeast. They will have direct access without going through Kano. They will go straight if they're going to Northwestern State.
The team also inspected repair works on washed-out culverts. The team acknowledged that all ongoing projects are being closely supervised by qualified professionals from the Federal Ministry of Works, reaffirming the ministry's commitment to quality assurance and adherence to specifications. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
The Nigerian Army, we hear, has strengthened its operational capacity with the deployment of over 1,000 newly trained special forces across the country. The troops drawn from exercise Restore Hope 9 passed out at the Nigerian Army base camp in Kachia, Kaduna State. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, reaffirmed the Army's resolve to restore peace, warning criminal elements that sustain lawlessness will be met with firm and decisive action. Let's hear more from Haruna Mohammed.
They are queens of the battlefield, infantry warriors, a special intervention battalion as demonstrated in reactive shooting and tactical display, with each soldier dominating his sector with speed, precision and teamwork. With the ability to engage the target accurately and in hand-to-hand efficiency, they are ready to neutralize any threat in defense of Nigeria's territorial integrity. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, in his address, charged the troops on the mission ahead.
It remains unique in its scope and intent, having consistently enhanced our fighting skills and combat competencies. I am therefore confident that the skills you have acquired will further increase the potency lethality and effectiveness of Nigerian Army troops.
Having undergone 6 months of rigorous training, these special forces are now ready for deployments across various theaters of operations. From the Nigerian Army base Camp Kachia, I am Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
With the success recorded in the year 2025 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the chairman, Ola Olukoyede, says in terms of recoveries and convictions, there is need for a special court to prosecute anti-corruption cases to avoid unnecessary delays. The chairman of the commission stated this at a reward and recognition program aimed at appreciating personnel who performed well, encouraging others to upskill the fight against corruption in the country. With recoveries running into billions of naira, millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of pounds sterling and euros, while convictions are in thousands, the commission says it will improve on the gains achieved with integrity in order to remain the nation's foremost anti-corruption agency.
Well, to whom much is given, much is also expected. We have recognized commitment, hard work. What we have done today is symbolic of the fact that whatever you sow, you will reap. And this is very apt and is very important for us to do things like this, to recognize those who are putting their best.
Flipping to other issues, the National Forum of Former Legislators has expressed support for the re-election of President Bola Tinubu, adopting him as its sole presidential candidate for the 2027 general elections. The forum gave the endorsement in a communique at its national summit in Abuja, where it also called on the National Assembly to enshrine rotational presidency in the 1999 Constitution. National Assembly correspondent Mitaira Ikben reports.
The National Forum of Former Legislators brings together federal and state lawmakers who were once active even as presiding officers to leverage on their wealth of experience and institutional memory for nation building and the welfare of members. The theme of this year's National Summit, National Unity and Nation Building Beyond 2031, speaks volumes about the need to close ranks for sustainable reforms and national development irrespective of political leanings. Several speakers described national unity as necessary for Nigeria's survival, anchored on the principles of justice, equity, and rotational presidency.
When people serve 4 years and they've done well, we return them for another 4 years. And again, there's concept of north-south dichotomy.
If all of us agree that rotation is necessary for us to be stable as a polity, why wouldn't we constitutionalize it?
In keeping with the spirit of equity, inclusion, and national balance, we affirm that the presidency should return to the Northern region after the completion of the Southern presidency and the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should be supported to complete the full 8 years.
The forum attributed its support for continuity of the Tinubu presidency to robust socio-economic reforms of the present administration.
President Tinubu's government has advanced numerous initiatives built on the foundation of national unity through programs that span the entire country.
Because of the improvement in security, instead of running away from the Northeast, people were running to Northeast in order to celebrate the holidays.
It's important to understand that this president came on board, took the very difficult decision, took the decision presidents would have been scared to take in their second term. He took it in his first term, not even considering that he had an election ahead of him.
The National Forum of Former Legislators also canvassed consideration of its members and their inputs in the Constitution review process. In Abuja, Mitaira Ikben, NTA News.
To the wives of our fallen and serving personnel, you are never alone. The Nigerian Air Force Officers' Wives Association, NAFOA, weaves a tapestry of support around you, men in the fabric of belonging with threads of compassion, purpose, and enduring sisterhood. Those were the words of the NAFOA President, Ngozi Aneke, at a medical and humanitarian outreach for widows and serving personnel wives in commemoration of the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day 2026. The Defense correspondent, Olajide Bello, reports.
It was another time to demonstrate service to humanity as families of the fallen and serving personnel converged on the NAF Base Parade Ground with one purpose: providing succor. NAFOA remains a humanitarian-driven organization committed to improving lives through medical outreach, welfare support, educational empowerment, and social interventions guided by compassion.
NAFOA remains firmly committed to your welfare, empowerment, and well-being.
One of the widows who benefited said it became necessary to form an association in 2018 so as to create an actionable database for the Nigerian Air Force and NAFOA's impact to be felt.
You know, with the intervention of the CAS and his wife, things became easier for us.
While changes may occur from time to time, NAFOA is committed to the welfare of personnel and their families and will remain a core consideration in policy formulation and implementation. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Okay, so if you've observed this January, the weather pattern has been unusual. So that's our conversation after the break, so do stay tuned. Ahead of the United Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME scheduled for 16th to 25th of April 2026, Registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, says only candidates who will be 16 by September 2026 are eligible for admission. Underage candidates may be considered for a waiver after a thorough evaluation process. Let's hear from Joel Papola.
The meeting between JAMB and the Commissioners of Education from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT is part of the preparatory process for this year's examination to ensure all stakeholders align with JAMB's objectives to guard against some of the nefarious activities in the previous year. The Registrar, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, says registration of candidates will now be monitored live by JAMB to eliminate sharp practices at the point of registration, adding that the price of the application form remains the same. Registration is expected to commence from January 26 and end on February 28. Mock examination is scheduled for March 28, while direct entry application will begin on March 2nd and close on April 25th.
I believe your assistance will go a long way in making JAMB better. When you are talking of admitting somebody for technology and changing him to geography or something, if he protests to us, we will act. But if he allows himself to go to geography, he's ruined forever, because NYC will not allow him to go on NYC.
It's our duty as honorable commissioners in our respective subnationals to ensure conform completely.
We are creating a common platform with the JAMB and the JAMB registrar himself, where if there are issues, we can directly talk to them.
The commissioners are expected to sensitize candidates and schools in their states on the need to avoid running more than one undergraduate program, which will attract sanctions and early registration to be in their preferred towns. In Lagos, Joel Bokbola, NTA News.
Okay, so back to the focus for this segment, talking about the unusual January weather pattern. Before we delve into that conversation, why don't we check out how tomorrow's weather will look like? Let's see it together.
Hello, glad to have you with us on the weather forecast for Sunday. Residents of Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, and Jigawa environs are expected to experience moderate dust haze. Visibility here is expected to be in the range of 2 to 5 kilometers. If you're in this region and you're sensitive to dust particles, we advise to please take necessary precaution. To other parts of the north and north central, a sunny and hazy atmosphere is expected, while to the southern region of the country, sunny with few patches of clouds are expected, with possibilities of afternoon and evening thunderstorms in parts of Rivers and Bayelsa states. So if you stay in these areas, keep an umbrella handy. That's the forecast for Sunday. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching.
Now you know not the usual pattern for January, right? And the dry season, popularly known as Harmattan, was expected to set in, that was in December 2025. But instead, the period was marked by unusual high temperatures. Then in January, boom, 2026, the weather took a sudden turn. A few days ago, a thick haze or fog persisted across several areas across the country. While some attribute this to the Harmattan, others suspect it may be linked to air pollution. Which is it? Well, Charles Alpha 6 answers for us.
Call it haze or fog, Harmattan or polluted air. The truth is, the current weather conditions are extreme, and many people are finding them uncomfortable.
In the past few days now, I've been feeling somehow weak because of the weather.
The heat and the dust and everything is just different.
From intense heat to dusty haze and patchy skies, the weather remains unpredictable. Across several cities, including the FCT, residents are longing for clearer skies and fresher air.
There are those who believe that what we are seeing right now is not Harmattan but air pollution, and that the change in temperature gradients caused by ocean, maritime and tropical continental mass could offer explanation to what we are experiencing right now.
You see it as Harmattan wind, but it's more than that. It affects even the health-wise, it affects the health. It affects even productivity of the land because it's the topsoil that is being blown away.
Others say it is a result of human activities. Car emissions, industrial operations, mining, bush burning and wildfires are believed to be contributing.
This combination significantly reduces air quality and visibility, making the haze appear heavier and more persistent.
I'm advising people to be protecting themselves by wearing face masks.
My advice to you guys is just you guys to protect yourself, maybe indoor or taking water.
Charles Alpha, NTA News.
So the changing weather pattern has increased heat waves now. This is in Rivers State. A neighboring state, of course, that's the Niger Delta. Despite the rainfall still experienced in the region, residents are apprehensive that it poses the risk of environmental and health issues. Robinson Derataidi reports.
Rivers State and some parts of the Niger Delta still experience increased rainfall, having the tendency to reduce the effects of heat waves. However, due to changes in weather patterns, the normal Harmattan experienced in December has been overtaken by extreme heat waves with increased humidity, making people to wonder if the regular rainfalls this period have no effect on the weather.
The heat is much, because I wonder what is happening. There is a lot of change in climatic change.
We expected Harmattan as usual, but it didn't come. So we're wondering what that could be. Is that a global warming or something? So we don't really know what the matter is.
If you observe last year, the rain came up to almost January, like now. And then when the rain left, it did not come back again until about July last year. So there's a gradual shift. Over time, I'm seeing a time when we're not having the rain beginning in August.
We encourage people to plant flowers, plant trees around their house. But more importantly, in urban planning, we talk about setbacks. In other words, there is a particular percentage a building should occupy within a plot of land.
The people are also advised to check unregulated land reclamation and obstruction of natural water flows. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Delateide, NTA News.
All right, we have a guest in the studio, Professor Sani Abubakar Mashi. He's a former Director General, NIMET, and he's also a lecturer, Department of Geography from University of Abuja. Thank you, Prof, for joining us on Weekend File.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Now, Prof, you've been following the whole reports we've shown earlier, and also the weather pattern, which has been unusual, especially for we here in Abuja. Now you can imagine what people in the northern region are experiencing. What do you make of this unusual pattern?
So thank you very much. What is actually happening what we are seeing right now prevailing in the country, Abuja and other areas, is a manifestation of the global changes that we have been witnessing in climate. Principally, what people need to know is we human beings that are occupying the Earth's surface, we play a very important role in modifying the behavior of the atmosphere, and by implication we play a very important role in defining how the climate, the nature of the climate will be. How this thing happens is very, very simple. What the heat that we encounter over the Earth's surface is actually from the Earth's surface, not directly from the sun. The reason is very simple. When sun is shining, the energy that is coming from the sun, they call it short wave. Okay. And God designed it in such a way that to be too much for human beings. And therefore, it is the heat that leaves the Earth's surface after the short wave has come and hit the Earth's surface. The one that is going back is what is trapped in the atmosphere and sent back. So through that way, the intensity of the heat is moderated so that the Earth will be exposed to the heat that it can accommodate, that we are comfortable with. So the implication of this scenario is that once if we try to undertake some activities on the Earth's surface that will increase the amount of heat, that is the long wave radiation that is leaving the Earth's surface, it means we are contributing to the amount of heat that is accumulating in the lower layer of the atmosphere. So, and since it is that heat that is coming back, so it means if we undertake some activities that increase that heat, we are increasing the amount of heat that is trapped in the lower layer of the atmosphere. So which means more heat that is trapped and more heat will come to the Earth's surface. So
Prof, if I get you correctly, you're a geography lecturer. Let's go back to my my school days in geography. Yes. The ozone layer depleting has been a talk for a very long time. Would you link it to that based on the heat waves you're describing?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
So this accumulation of heat, increased accumulation of heat in the lower layer of the atmosphere cause a lot of problems. There is a layer, there is an ozone layer. It is helping, particularly in preventing some of the excess heat from being trapped on the Earth's surface. So what is happening here now is through our activities now, we are releasing some gases into the atmosphere. They call it greenhouse gases. They go and increase the concentration in the lower layer of atmosphere, leading to increased heat, and they had to deplete the ozone layer that is also supposed to be protecting us.
Yes.
So through this way, we are now increasing the intensity of heat that is available in the atmosphere and therefore on the Earth's surface. So the consequences of this, it means we are now promoting increasing heat over the Earth's surface and increasing temperature. And this increasing heat and increasing atmosphere is what is responsible for the situation we are now seeing. How does it happen is very, very simple. In Nigeria, we have 12 months. Over about 78 months, there is the air that is blowing over the country is called tropical maritime, which is moist, which is from the coastal area, and this is what is bringing rain. And then for the next 4 months, that is November, December, January to February, we have another air which is dry coming from the desert and which is known as tropical continental. So what happens here now is the movement of the air between these two air masses vary from one season to another. During the 4 months, which I'm saying now, it is mostly the movement is from the tropical continental towards the southern part of the country. So which means during that time, the temperatures will be high, but the air will be dry. So that is why we tend to have harmattan that is blowing, and because it is from Sahara, it is carrying some particles which give us that harmattan. So why this movement happens is because during these 4 months, the temperature in the Sahara, that is the northern part of the country towards the Sahara, tends to be higher than what you have in the southern part. So therefore, this is what is creating the gradient. So as a result of these changes in the temperature, now the gradient is being altered. Gradient means it is from high to the low. So now the gradient is becoming gentler. So it means there is no room for the harmattan to move. What people need to know is that 2023, 2024, 2025, records of World Meteorological Organization have shown that since human beings started recording temperature in 1880, about 150 years ago, these 3 years I mentioned, 2023, 24, and 25, they have now been seen they are the most hottest years in history. The implication, it means the heat is just increasing, and it is now reaching very, very critical level.
Okay, Prof.
That is a problem.
If I come in there, I don't want us to look at the consequences, not to create a scare. We're already seeing what is happening. You can only imagine it. Let's look at mitigation, aspect of this pattern we're experiencing, especially with NIMET's prediction and what you're saying about the 3 years down the line till now, it's increasing. And experts have attributed some of this to human activities, we saw from the report.
Yeah.
How do we begin mitigation?
Certainly. So, like I said from my background, since it is the amount of activities we are undertaking over the atmosphere that is increasing this heat, then it means if we want to be safe, if we don't want to see the unusual thing we are seeing now, it means we have to moderate the kind of activities we are doing. And how do we do that is very simple. Whatever you are doing, there is always an alternative to eat. If you have money, you eat good food. If you don't have money, you manage, you eat small or less sophisticated kind of food. That is how life is. The activities we are undertaking, industrial activities, burning things on the earth surface, using vehicles that are emitting some gases, there are always ways we can do that. Fortunately, the technology is moving now. We have what we call clean technology. Even the vehicles we are using, if you cannot buy a brand new vehicle that will not emit the smoke, you can go for a vehicle that work on an alternative energy, for instance. Or if, for instance, in Abuja, 100,000 cars fly the roads per day, we can now come up with a strategy so that we decrease the number of the vehicles that are there, so that maybe we can introduce mass pattern of movement, maybe buses or whatever, that can be comparing people from different parts of the territory to another. To reduce what we are reducing. Or if we must burn trees in order maybe to cook or whatever, we can make use of stoves and other cooking methods that work on alternative clean energy. So through this way, we can reduce the amount of heat we are now releasing over the surface, which will now go and aggravate the problem. So it's a very, very simple thing, which means it's something that can be done at individual level, it's something that can be at the level of the community, and it's something that can be low, and even at institutional level, that is at the level of the government. So it's something that can be done.
You know, Prof, when you said it's very simple, I was just thinking in my head, is it really simple to control, especially when you're regulating policies and ensuring implementation? That can be tasking.
You see, what is important?
Okay, Prof, we'll pick up. Let's take a break. It's due. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. In recent times, the weather pattern, of course, we've told you that it seems to be changing. Lagos particularly has its own share. It is experiencing a much weaker and almost non-existent harmattan. Larry Meleyi will tell us more.
January, which is traditionally the peak of the dry season, with cold, dry harmattan conditions, is instead bringing unusually high humidity and rainfall in Lagos. Interestingly, on Friday, 23rd January, a brief wave of harmattan wind blew, leaving residents even more confused. The whole scenario is raising eyebrows, with many Nigerians attributing the change to the increasingly unpredictable nature of the weather.
When last time there was a rainfall, people said that harmattan is going to appear. At the end, we faced it.
I felt harmattan was about 2 to 3 years ago, and I think it's due to climate change and human activities, actually.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, provides a breakdown of why there is a weak and almost non-existent harmattan season in some areas in the southern part of the country, particularly Lagos.
A stronger and more persistent, moist southwesterly wind flow from the Atlantic Ocean this harmattan season. Enhanced influx of moisture and increased atmospheric humidity leading to cloud formation and eventual rainfall have also been witnessed this period.
Meteorologists are also pointing to the urban heat island effect, usually caused by rapid urbanization. They say the replacement of natural vegetation with asphalt and steel in a rapidly growing city like Lagos can lead to buildup of heat, trapping moisture and reducing the cooling effect associated with harmattan season. In Lagos, Larry Meleyi, NTA News.
All right, we still have Prof. Prof, we're seeing Lagos situation, we've seen other states. So before we went on that break, you were going to speak on measures that has been taken in the past and still taken. We have the National Climate Action Plan. We've seen ambitious climate action plans over the years, not just even now, to promote clean energy, emission control and all of that. But yet we are where we are. Why?
Part of the problem is the sharing of responsibilities. Like I said earlier, the responsibilities can be discharged at various levels, individual level, community level, state level, even at national level, and just by individuals or even by institutional bodies. So what is happening, there is actually a gap. So much responsibility is now allowed on particularly the government, meaning things that we should do at individual levels. A number of us are not doing it, and it is possible. Part of the thing is the policy may be there, which is a very good one. We have the climate action plan of the country, which has addressed to a very large extent a lot of the problems we have been experiencing now, and including the measures that are supposed to be taken. So the thing is, what needs to be done here now is we need to go back to the basics, so that, like I said, individual, we have to change the way we are doing. Community should watch over what is happening within the community, and so on. It continues at that level, and you scale it from the lowest level to the highest level within the country. That was the reason why I was saying it is easy. When you look at a number of countries, they are taking these matters head on, and you can see that it is not just the government that is pushing from up down, but like initiatives ranging from the community. Quite sure incentives are needed. We need to incentivize individuals and communities to do that. If you look at what is happening in China, China used to be, for long, it's regarded as one of the most countries that is associated with pollution due to the high level of industrialization that is going on in the country. So they discovered that part of the reason is automobiles are contributing a very large extent, moving within the area. So what they have done is they are now pacing out vehicles, motorcycles that are even relying on the hydrocarbon that is on fuel. So they are now subsidizing to deliberate policy. So it is very, very cheap for you to go and buy electric bike, to buy electric vehicle compared to the petrol. That is why even Chinese now they are get to read, because you don't even need that one, because there are cheaper alternatives. This is the kind of thing that I'm saying. The alternative, if they are provided, people will take them up. Decide on them, and then you go for them. That's why I was saying it's a bit easy. Individuals, let's be committed. Community, let's be watching and ensure that things that should not be happening, they should not happen. If we see somebody in the community doing it, through convincing, through community engagement or whatever, talk to the people. So these are the things that is doing. It's like the responsibility people are allowing too much on the government to do. And
breaking it down in a very simpler form for communities to understand.
Exactly.
Because when you're telling them ozone layer, global warming, they don't understand it. So, Prof, we'll pick up with this conversation. Let's find out how Borno residents of Maiduguri are adjusting to the unusual January weather pattern. Let's get to hear from our correspondent there, Pauline Kujevana.
In Borno State, the 2025-2026 dry season feels different from the familiar Harmattan period traditionally experienced between November and February. Unlike the constantly cold mornings, dry air and heavy dust winds of previous years, this season has been marked by irregular temperature patterns.
We call this weather phenomenon mean latitude trough. It's a system that moves from the west to the east. Southwesterlies, when moving interland, it come along with moisture. So some area close to the coast, we have rainfall. While some area that is interland, they may have here and there cloudiness.
The northeast is the one that brings Harmattan dry air, hasty air and all this, and cooler air. But unfortunately this year, it seems completely different. You cannot even predict it. So it's a global issue.
In breathing or coughing, they excrete some microorganism. For that individual, it's a normal something. But for another individual, it's a new microorganism entirely.
As Borno State continues to adjust to the evolving seasonal conditions, experts are urging residents and farmers to stay informed through NAMED weather updates, adopt preventive health measures, and apply climate-smart agricultural practices to reduce the impact of the unsteady weather. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
All right, Prof, we've seen how Maiduguri people are trying to adjust, and you can only imagine the hazy condition there for people who live in that region. Let's look at the aspect of strengthening coordination, Prof, in the aspect of, prioritizing action plan. And I know you've been emphasizing it can be easy. So how do we strengthen coordination for effective implementation?
You see, the issue is that is where the government, the role of the government is very, very important here. What the government is supposed to do, since there are multiple layers that are supposed to be involved in undertaking the activities that can help in the mitigation. What the government therefore needs to do now is to provide the necessary condition, the necessary atmosphere that will allow the various players in the various segments of the chain. I call it a chain because, like I said, from the lowest to the highest level. So make it possible. If there are barriers that are preventing some members of the chain, on the chain, maybe at the community, at individual level, at the state or whatever, private sector, public sector, and if there are barriers that are confronting them, try and see how you can get them eliminated. What I'm saying is very simple. We have always been emphasizing is that we can use clean technology in cooking, meaning we don't have to use firewood. So the fact of the matter, if the alternative energy that is there, that is available, if it is not within the reach of those that acquire it, then it means even if you have money to acquire, then it means you cannot acquire it. Or it may be there, but you may not have the resources to acquire it. How can you empower the people so that they can get it? We are not saying donate it to the individual, but look at the way people are living and see how can you create funding mechanisms that can enable them to get access to this funding. It can be loan, it can be grant, it can be any form of assistance. So this is what I'm trying to say. It is largely the government that can play this role. Besides the government also, there are other bodies, non-governmental bodies. Faith-based organizations, for instance, can play a role. Religious bodies and other things that are there. We're in the political era. The political arrangements that we have in the country here now, they can play a role. Political parties, for instance, they are not just to go and campaign for vote and all that is. They can play a very, very active role in helping to see how they can get some of the barriers educated, so that you don't just go to the people when you want to campaign for the votes. If there are needs, talk to the people so that try and see how you can get them engaged. So to reduce in essence, what I'm trying to say is all those that are in the various segments of the chain, they can now have to be mobilized so that effective linkages among them can be there. Once if you have the data, it means the coordination becomes very effective. So that's why I have always been emphasizing it is possible.
Okay.
And if you think you can win, then you can win.
Okay, Prof, let's... We know the federal government have taken bold moves, rather, to enter partnerships on climate financing and all of that. But let's tilt it down to the subnationals, these regions where the climate action needs to be really domesticated. What would be your recommendation to state governments?
Honestly, particularly the local communities, the local governments, they need to be up and doing. What they need to know is that if the little money that they are having, they should spare a substantial part of the money towards addressing some of these challenges. If you give local government, I'm happy what the Mr. President has done is he has given directive to that, because there is even a Supreme Court ruling, the resources belonging to the local government should go directly to them. So this money, if they come now, let there be priorities, at least so that local communities, local governments now, they should invest a substantial part of their resources towards undertaking some of these measures, promoting the use of clean energy in whatever thing with that, whether in transportation, whether in cooking, or whether in industrial activities, small-scale processing, and whatever we are doing. If this can be done, meaning that the local communities now, local government, they should become and play very, very, very active role, rather than allowing everything, particularly to the federal government, to do that. If we can do that, I'm telling you, substantial progress can be made if the communities, local government in particular, can take up that matter.
So, Prof, very quickly, what would you advise individuals at their own level, because we are the ones bearing the brunt, right?
Yeah. You see, at individual, like I said at the possible, what thing we need to know is that whatever we are doing, there is always an alternative to it.
Yeah.
There are even better alternatives to it. If you are living in Kefi and coming to Abuja to work, you have a vehicle. If necessary, there could be an alternative for you. You can keep your vehicle and follow another vehicle. Through that way, you are helping. You must not ride your car to come, for instance. There are always, this is the kind of things. So which means, especially where right atmosphere has been provided by particularly the enabler, that is the government that are supposed to promote a sound transportation policy. So if that is available.
We have the CNG initiative.
Yes, look at it, was a very good one. But you can see that despite the CNG initiative, people will still want to ride their own. So let us modify our way of living. We must not come with our vehicles. We must not cook using the traditional way, maybe using the firewood and all that, the alternative stuff. So when we appreciate the fact that there are always alternatives, and those alternatives can be better than what we are doing, then it means we at the level of the individual, where you will see things will start getting change automatically.
The change we want to see is not in the climate, in the negative aspect, but in the positive. Let's hope that we continue to do the needful, and those in authority, key into the necessary initiative. Thank you so much, Professor.
Happy to be with you.
Professor Sani Abubakar Mashi. Thank you. He's the former Director General of NIMET and also a lecturer of geography in University of Abuja. Geography used to be one of my favorite subjects, Prof. Yes, I loved it.
It's never late. You can come back to it.
No. That's the way I am. All right, let's take
see you again.
All right, Prof. Let's take a break. Glad to know you're there, and you're just right on time for Sports Update. Bade Adeleye is our guide today. Hello, Bade. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ruth. All right, let's get straight to it. We'll begin with football. As Nigeria's sole representatives in the CAF Champions League, Rivers United are still searching for their first victory in the competition after being held to a goalless draw by Power Dynamos in Zambia. The Nigerian side struggled to break down their host's stubborn defense and had to settle for a share of the spoils in a tightly contested encounter. Rivers United currently sit bottom of the group with just 1 point from 3 matches. Meanwhile, in the only Nigeria Premier Football League encounter played on Saturday, Katsina United were held to a goalless draw at home by Plateau United in a fiercely contested encounter. Attention now shifts to Sunday's fixtures as Wiki Tourist host Kano Pillars. Ikorodu City travel to face El Kanemi Warriors, or Rangers International of Enugu take on Warri Wolves. Shooting Stars will battle Bentel Assurance in Ibadan. Barao FC square off against Bayelsa United in Kano, and Nasarawa United engage Abia Warriors. Away from Nigeria now, Fulham came from behind to stun Brighton 2-1 in match day 23 of the English Premier League on Saturday. Substitute Samuel Chukwueze drew Fulham level in the 72nd minute before Harry Wilson struck a dramatic winner in stoppage time to seal the comeback victory. Nigeria's Alex Iwobi also featured in the counter. Elsewhere, Manchester City returned to winning ways after 2 consecutive defeats by beating Wolves 2-0 at the Etihad, while West Ham United defeated Sunderland 3-1 to climb out of the relegation zone, just as Liverpool's unbeaten run went up in smoke with Amion Adley scoring a stoppage time winner for Bournemouth in a dramatic 3-2 victory. Attention now turns to Sunday's fixtures, with Crystal Palace set to host Chelsea. Newcastle United take on Aston Villa, while league leaders Arsenal face Manchester United in a blockbuster Super Sunday clash. To a bit of tennis now, a visibly frustrated Novak Djokovic overcame Dutchman Botic van der Sar 6-3, 6-4, 7-6 to book his place in the 4th round of the Australian Open, keeping alive his pursuit of a record 25th Grand Slam title. The 38-year-old Serb notched his 102nd career victory in Melbourne, equaling the tournament record held by 6-time champion Roger Federer. And also, he became the first player in history to reach 400 match wins across all Grand Slam events. Despite advancing, the counter was far from comfortable for Djokovic, who briefly lost his cool during the second set and was fortunate to escape punishment after striking a ball that flew dangerously close to a ball goal stationed near the net. Finally, two-time Australian Open champion Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from this year's tournament ahead of her third-round encounter against qualifier Madison Inglis due to an abdominal injury. The Japanese star revealed she could not risk aggravating the problem ahead of their scheduled clash with the Australian on Rod Laver Arena. Osaka has struggled with abdominal issues in the past and was forced to retire during her third-round match at last year's Australian Open against Belinda Bencic. And now that does it on Sports Tonight. Let's return to Ruth.
Thank you very much, Buddy. I look forward to that Manchester United and Arsenal match tomorrow. Okay, so before we go, World Leprosy Day is marked on 25th January. It's a global awareness day dedicated to people who have experienced leprosy and to the continued fight against the disease and the stigma surrounding it. The day highlights that leprosy is curable, especially when detected early, and that discrimination, not the disease itself, remains one of the biggest challenges faced by affected persons. Despite medical advances, many people still suffer social exclusion, delayed treatment, and human rights violations due to fear and misinformation. As we mark the day tomorrow, let us join hands and encourage governments and communities to support elimination efforts, correct myths and misconceptions about leprosy, advocate for dignity, inclusion, and equal rights. January 25th is a reminder that ending leprosy also means ending stigma, prejudice, and silence around the disease. So that's Weekend File tonight. You know we always appreciate your company. Do have a good night rest. I'm Ruth Aguele.